What up, ho biscuits? It's your girl Skitten, back at it again. Man, Chavez just made me some burgers and they were super freaking bomb. They were barbecue sriracha flavored. I see you there, baby.
I'm sneaking.
I see you sneaking.
I'm sneaking.
But he just made me some bomb burgers. They were so good. All I want to do is go downstairs and eat another one, but I already ate two, so I'm gonna sit my fat ass in this chair and watch a video. Hope you guys are doing okay. It looks like states around the country are really starting to ease up on their restrictions, so I'm really excited for people, including myself, right? Because like my state is one of them. But honestly, I just implore you guys to please stay safe, continue to practice social distancing. We have flattened the curve, but I just don't want to see any of y'all out there getting sick or passing the virus on to other more vulnerable people. So just make sure you guys are playing it safe, you know, maybe don't go to any raves anytime soon, right? But Eddie who's in, we are here for some Reddit but Etty who's in, we are here for some stories from Reddit. These are creepy and unexplainable stories from forest rangers, so I'm prepared. I'm ready for the goosebumps, bitch. Maybe I shouldn't say bitch. I'm ready for the goosebumps, baby. Hopefully I remember to edit that out. 3, 2, 1.
What are your unexplainable and downright creepy stories? Not a ranger, but I was out camping with my dog.
Okay, I know the video just started and I'm so sorry for pausing the video so soon, but it's like a pet peeve of mine when I'm asking a specific subset of people for their input, right? So why are you here? Go make your own freaking Reddit thread about something. Why are you here? We're asking for forest rangers. It's like when people are like lawyers, blah, 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 blah. And they're like, I'm not a lawyer, I'm a this. And it's like, it's explainable. It makes sense to me if you're like, I'm a paralegal or I'm a legal secretary. But you're like, I'm not a lawyer, but my friend's cousin's grandma was a lawyer and she told me this story. Stop it. Stop it. Okay, rant over. We will commence with the video.
One night in or along the Mogollon Rim of Arizona. It was dark and we were sitting around the campfire when we hear something behind a bush close to our camp. Instead of my dog barking at it, he begins to whimper. I didn't think nothing of it and just tended to the fire. After a couple of minutes we were some more noises from a different bush. This time my dog gets up and goes over to the tent and scratches the door because he wants to go in. I toss a couple of rocks in the direction I heard the noise and nothing happened. I'm spooked now, so I toss a couple of pieces of wood on the fire and climb into my tent with my dog, hoping that the light from the fire would keep whatever was out there away. We eventually fall asleep and luckily had no other disturbances during the night. The next morning, I go out behind the bushes where we had heard the noises and found mountain lion tracks that were circling around our camp. I'm sure glad I didn't go looking at night when I heard the noises.
Your dog said, nah, bro, I can't save you, so let's just go inside, homie. I was like wondering, because I was like, who like hears their dog whimper and like doesn't think anything of it? But I guess like if you're a dog owner, you're used to your dog making weird ass noises all the time.
So my dad is a forestry technician and this happened to one of his co-workers. They were up doing some sort of job in the very most northerly part of Ontario. Anyways, it was in the middle of the night and she was half asleep and vaguely heard something outside her tent. Then she felt something push against her tent and the zipper slowly open. She opened her eyes and saw the head of a polar bear in her tent. Polar bears are far from the cuddly toys that you see, and they are known to be super aggressive and will hunt and eat people. She laid there paralyzed with fear, thinking that it was the end, and then slowly the bear retracted its head and left.
That's awful.
Not me, but my dad, who was a ranger. He said once he was out in the forest with one other ranger. They had to camp overnight halfway to their destination. Well, that night they heard footsteps and a lot of them outside their tent. Then they heard at least 20 people scream, "Get out." Needless to say, they got the FCK out and radioed it in. The next morning the cops went out and searched and found 4 skinned animals pinned to the trees around their campsite.
Excuse me?
I'm not a ranger.
Nah, bro. Skinned animals?
But I did used to live near a national forest, and when I was in high school I had my mom drive me into the woods so I could take some photos on a trail for a photography assignment. She waited in the car and I headed down the trail, saying I wouldn't be long. It's actually really pretty and it leads down to a river and you can walk along the edge as it turns around a bend. As I was walking I distinctly remember feeling like I was suddenly in danger and like something was watching me. I was wearing an orange raincoat so I was pretty visible. I didn't have my glasses on, but as I looked over the river to the other side of the bank I saw something really tall and grey making its way through the trees toward the river. I have never been so scared. I went into survival mode and booked it back up the trail to my mom's car where I told her what happened. It's still one of the freakiest things I've ever experienced. Wish I got a photo, but I was a 16-year-old 90 pounds girl and was freaked TF out. Not a ranger.
That don't sound
Last
good.
year I went camping early.
So do we get any forest rangers in this any? Whatever. I'm over it. I'm fine. It's fine, guys.
Springtime with some people at a pretty remote place. Waterguns National Park. There wasn't many people around and it was a really nice area. 2 days into our camping trip one of my friend's camp chair broke and we went through all our stuff looking for cable ties. We searched tents and the cars but we had no cable ties. So we just left it. That night I woke to my tent shaking slightly, so I woke up my boyfriend next to me. We opened the tent and it was one of my friends. My friend was in panic saying he couldn't breathe, that something was choking him. So we shot up with a torch and shining it on his neck we found 2 black cable ties tied around his neck.
Bitch.
They were tight enough for it to be cutting off some of his airway. After we were able to cut off the cable ties, we went back to sleep. We did not sleep easily that night. The next morning we asked my friend about it, like if anything in his tent seemed out of the ordinary. He said when he woke up that night, his tent was open.
So you're telling me some wacko nut job crazy person snuck into your tent and put cable ties on your neck? That sounds fake. Because if it's not fake, it's awful. This is why I don't go camping. Also because I don't like dirt or bugs or really outside at all when there's not a building close by. But also, there's maniacs out there. Weirdo tree log people.
Not a ranger, but I was camping in a remote park in Argentina. There was only one other group in the campground. I made brief small talk with them. I'm not fluent in Spanish. During the night I was woken up and swear I saw someone walking by my tent and shine a flashlight in. I've never had claustrophobia until that moment. I was in a mummy bag because it was pretty cold. Damn near ripped the thing open trying to get out cause I thought I was under siege. Another episode. Winter camping in Minnesota with my dog. I was waiting for my friends to join me, but they were a few hours out. The campsite is a mile or 2 from the highway. An ambulance drove by at like 8 PM while I was in my tent taking a nap with Doggo. Right after it goes by, a pack of coyotes start howling. I made sure Doggo was on her leader after that. In the past I had let her run around in remote campsites after dark, but not anymore.
Smart.
Not a ranger, but I worked in conservation. I was walking a creek bed with a bunch of loose rocks in it. I had been through it before and we'd seen plenty of artifacts around the site like arrowheads. One day, for some reason, I was walking along and stopped. I turned around and brushed some of the rocks aside under the water. There was an unusual looking tool, maybe ½ an inch wide and 5 inches long, with the tip broken off. Under these loose river pebbles, I got goosebumps immediately and started looking around. I was the only one out on this 16,000 acre tract.
Oh wow.
And something stopped me in my tracks and told me to look there. I've had some weird stuff happen, but I'm probably the cause of a lot more unexplained sightings. I used to spend a lot of time in the forest near my neighborhood. It's a small strip of trees that's biggest inhabitant is a fox. I got into vulture culture taxidermy about a year ago. I've always been a fan of zoology and being able to look at animals in a different way is incredibly interesting. When I was getting into it, the fox in the forest had just had kids and was hunting overtime to feed them. I started kind of an exchange where I'd pick up bones and such from around the den, and if I found fresh corpses elsewhere I'd leave the meat around the den instead of wasting it.
Oh, wow.
Unfortunately, this garnered me the reputation of outcast horrible dead animal lady from most of the kids who liked to play in the forest and noticed me carrying bags of rotting animal parts around.
Because that's terrifying.
As far as I'm aware, none of them actually knew anything about me aside from the rotting meat and the time I accidentally busted through with a bunch of live snakes. So that should pretty well cement their opinion on me.
Yeah, you are the crazy forest lady who will make bread out of their bone dust.
Not a ranger. Shocker. One summer my boyfriend and I drove up and down California and just slept in the back of his truck.
Stupid.
One day we went to the Emerald Pools near Lake Tahoe and crashed at a public campground nearby. There was maybe one other person there as well as the campground host. In the middle of the night I woke up and just had a creepy feeling. I sat up and realized that the passenger door of the truck was swung wide open. We had locked ourselves in the bed with the camper shell and you had to unlock it from the inside to get it out. I'm a nervous Nelly as my boyfriend calls it, and always made sure doors were closed and locked before bed. I was so creeped out for the rest of the night that I could barely sleep. My dad spoke to a Chinese woman who lived as a forest survey person up in the mountains for the past 30 or so years. This is in Canada about 5 years ago.
Canada.
As an unofficial sort of person the government asked about when looking for forest fires. Any sort of illegal shit, etc. She says that she spotted multiple Sasquatch and that they are quite intelligent and just don't want to interact with people. Not even the young ones. But if she's out there they're pretty chill about it because she grew up around that area and remembers seeing them from a young age. She had a totally straight look on her face. And my dad said she's one of the most rational people he'd seen out there. He owned a strip of gold claim out that way at the time, and she said if he knew what was good to leave that land alone because digging it up would disturb a lot of shit in the area and she wasn't sure it was a good idea.
Boop.
My dad wasn't so sure until he swears. Up and down. He saw one himself. And she said that's the female one and just went inside and left him out there to take the FCK off running. It's a deep woods story that's been shared in my family for quite a few years. My great uncle was a deep woods kinda guy. In a practice I find a little weird. He would rarely use a tent. Just set up a sleeping bag right on the ground. Since we're from Maine, there aren't too many large predators that really mess with people. There are black bears, but they usually hide from people. So I guess he just didn't feel worried. So, he's out sleeping in the woods.
Stupid.
When he feels tiny
Crazy,
hands patting
weird.
his face. Wakes up. Opens his eyes to see a raccoon standing over him. Just feeling his face.
That's cute though.
So what
but
does
also
my great uncle
terrifying.
do?
Kills
He
it.
just goes back to sleep. Alright, obligatory not.
He's like, I mean, I guess I am in your house, so it's fine that you're touching my. It's cool. It's fine.
A ranger, but here goes. I was in the forest camping out under the lovely forests of Jersey. We set up camp and were all chatting in our tents and left the fire up so.
When they say Jersey, they don't mean New Jersey, do they? Does New Jersey have forests?
We can tell some great scary stories. All was going well until we heard a rustling in a bush, textbook scary story stuff.
Of course.
We all think it's one of our friends who hasn't come back from the potty break, but just as the bush was rustling we see the outline of a person circling our tent. We call out for our friend but random person does not answer, and at this point he stops in place. We all start getting freaked out as the person we see from outside could not possibly be our friend due to the height difference. One of the members of the group lies saying that we are armed and kill him. A good minute goes by before we all hear what I can describe as the most shrill scream I have ever heard, and dude just up and leaves.
What?
Creepy part about this is that our friend who was out to the restroom says he heard said scream but saw no one around the camping area or even footprints of where the man should have been. We were also pretty deep into the woods as well, so it's not as if anyone who was just passing by could have found us, at least not easily.
Y'all was doing shrooms? You can tell me. I won't judge you. Y'all was doing shrooms, huh?
It's late spring. Heavy rain had flooded the dike and public hunting grounds, so I get the idea to go fishing in the shallows with my buddy. We have a good time. Didn't catch anything and it's getting dark. So we light a fire to dry off before heading back. As the sunlight is swallowed up, we hear something I can only describe as a blood-curdling scream coming from the distance. A little girl almost. Frogs, we thought. And kept talking. Twigs snapping. Then again. But much closer. We heard it. Could have been as close as 30 feet at the tree line. We hightail it out of there and laugh it off once we get home. Fast forward 6 years. I'm on lunch break and I'm telling this story to my lead. And he pulls up a video on YouTube and lets me listen. The same scream. He gives me the phone and I see a mountain lion. They make that noise as a final warning. Full stop.
Ooh!
I'm a ranger, non-peace officer, and work at a pretty remote desert park. This happened before I got there. But the other rangers I work with were there. They went to do a patrol during summer, our off season, at one of our seldom used campgrounds. On a patrol, our maintenance ranger found a burnt out car in one of the sites. The desert is a weird place, so he just calls the sheriff and waits. Sheriff arrives and it turns out there's a body in the driver's seat.
Oh, no.
With no arms and no legs. Just a torso and head. Burnt. Sheriff's just marked it as a suicide and removed the vehicle. We are close to Mexico and get a lot illegal drug traffic. So I guess they don't even bother trying to solve those.
What?
Super sketchy.
That's awful. Okay, I'm gonna do one more and hopefully it's not as awful as that one.
Not a ranger, but like probably all the rest of the comments are going to be, I was camping in the woods. Backwoods campground with the nearest sign of humanity was a National Guard depot about 5 miles away. It was the week before Labor Day and the campground was completely empty. We were half asleep in our tent when we heard what sounded like a little girl laughing in the distance.
Nope. Children's laughter, you gotta go. There's no kid, you gotta go. Hightail it out of there, bro.
Continued for about an hour. Didn't get much sleep that night. Edit. Mystery explained. Apparently it was a bird called a magpie and not a demon girl.
Oh, okay. I like that. I like that we got an explanation for that because I was like, bro, you in danger. Like, nah. All right. Well, that is it for me. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget to leave your reaction suggestions down in the comments below. Other than that, peace out, ho biscuits. It's getting lit.